Hey everyone, I'm Marianne Mitchell, founder of Whole Artist Mastery. We talk about really digging into understanding what your core expression is. What's at the core of who you are? Why are you inspired by what you're inspired by? And then understanding how that informs your particular use of visual language to make uniquely compelling work. And then what is it that you want your work to offer both yourself and those who see it? How do you want to show up in the world as a whole artist? So, welcome to the conversation. Our need to make art comes out of this inner and outer experience that we have. We have feelings and thoughts that are deeply embedded inside us, and sometimes they come up to the surface, and we look to the world around us sometimes we don't, but we're influenced by the external forces, whether it's through relationships with people or landscape or some kind of scenery that we see around us that mirrors how we feel and what we're thinking about inside. And so it's that reciprocal relationship between our interiority and the external world that gives us the language, the emotional and the intellectual language and the physical language through the use of our materials to make work that's inspiring to us. So a lot of the time we are taking a lot of information in from the outside world, and I have just had that experience. I just spent the weekend in New York. It's May 2023 and New York is bursting with so many fabulous art shows, both in galleries and in museums. It was truly an astonishing weekend and wore me out. But I have all this information floating around in my head and extraneous thoughts and thoughts that are beginning to congeal, and it has yet to start to float down into me and become part of me. And I'm really excited for that to happen because I have so many interesting thoughts about what I saw, and I really want to share them with you. And so in the next couple of videos, I'm going to be doing just that. I'm going to be showing you images of the shows that I saw. I went to see Van Gogh at the Met. I saw Cecily Brown also at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. At MoMA is Georgia O'Keeffe, which was one of the best Georgia O'Keeffe shows I've ever seen. So was the Van Gogh show, by the way, at the Met. And I also saw Mark Bradford at the Hauser Wirth Gallery in Chelsea, and a few other things. And so I'm going to be sharing with you both the images and what each curator's point of view was in talking about the artists that they were doing an exhibit about. I found that curators have a huge influence on how we experience artwork and the lens through which they want us to see this particular exhibition and why they've put these particular paintings together and what's the message that they want us to come away with. So again, it's this external taking in of information and trying to weed through it and letting it sink in and become part of you, and then have it come out in a way that is really organically woven into the way you think and how that comes out in your painting. Another way to get out of your head and into your interior world when you're starting a painting, a lot of people say to me, I have all this stuff going on in my life and I can't seem to get it out of my head, and I feel very distracted. And for me, when I'm in that place, I choose music. I actually put my earbuds in even if there's not a soul around for miles, because having the music inside me, through my ears, it becomes part of me and helps me to deactivate that critical thinking, that ticker tape of I need to do this, I need to do that, and helps to connect the energy of the music with the energy inside me, so that what's coming out in paint is without really that ticker tape affecting it. And I've come to develop different kinds of music playlists for different phases. So for phase 1 in Reckless Abandon, I have very fast, upbeat music that's almost sort of, goes back to my childhood. I'm a good old rock and roll girl. Some of the Rolling Stones, the Allman Brothers, who else? Led Zeppelin sometimes, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, so I'm dating myself. But I do have some contemporary artists as well that I listen to. And then when I'm moving out of critical analysis, or out of Reckless Abandon into critical analysis, the music that I listen to is different, because I need to tone down the revving up. I need to have music that helps me or supports my critical thinking, my decision-making process of what do I like, what do I dislike, where do I go from here. And if I'm listening to something that's taking my concentration away, then I'm unable to make those critical decisions. So from there, I move into the integration phase, where I'm thinking and feeling, I'm making these compositional decisions and checking in with how they make me feel after I made, how the painting's making me feel after I change a composition or add to it or shift it around. And at that point, I'm listening to music that's sort of both fast and slow, depending on how the random music feed goes. And so sometimes I'll shift the music if it's getting in my head too much, or sometimes I'll shift the music if I need something to get me out of my head in the middle of this decision-making process between composition and emotional expression. But then by the time you get to the last phase, resolution, you want to have something that's like a support, background, whether it's listening to a lightweight podcast or NPR, or maybe, a book that you're listening to that doesn't require a lot of strong attention on your part, because you want your strong attention to be on making those final decisions about tweaking here and tweaking there and adding a line and burnishing, bringing out a little bit more color in a certain area. And so if you have fast-paced music at that point, it's actually very dissonant and destructive to your thinking powers, I guess, at that point. At least that's what I have found. So I wanted to share that with you in the context of, coming from the outside world with all this information and trying to let all of that melt away a little bit and become part of you. And one way to do that is by listening to music. So I hope this is helpful, and I look forward to sharing with you in the next couple of videos the photographs from all these wonderful shows that I've seen, my thoughts about them, and the curator's thoughts about them, and for you to discern yourself how these artists may influence your particular expression. I invite you to go to the WHAM website, the Whole Artist Mastery website, subscribe, and you will be on the mailing list to be invited to the free Wednesday afternoon discussions, WHAM Wednesday, 5 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. We talk about a lot of these issues in depth. I touch on them a little bit in the YouTube, but that's a time, it's an hour devoted to the deeper level of conversation as it relates to developing our voice, making compelling work, and how we want to show up in the world as a whole artist. So I hope you'll join me. I look forward to seeing you there. And please share your thoughts in the chat feed below this video about your selection of music. What do you like to listen to? And do you have trouble allowing the extraneous thoughts and information that comes from the outside world? Do you have trouble letting that melt away? And what are your tactics for getting deeper inside? So I hope you'll share. Thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you next time.